We have the two best teams that have finally found their place in the Summit Clash. It's a repeat of the 2003 World Cup final. Of course, the tables have turned because back then you had Ricky Ponting's men staying undefeated through the entire tournament to lift the World Cup title. And now you have India in that position and Australia really contenders for that title against favourites right now, Team India. If I had to sort of compare that particular team, a Saurav Ganguly-led side, or even MS Dhoni when they triumphed, or even a captain like Kapil Dev, all of those moments for India especially, in 1983 win, what it did was it put India on the sporting map in the world. It told the world that we can be champions at sport. The 2011 World Cup, what that signified was someone coming from nowhere, MS Dhoni coming from a very small town to inspire a whole generation of people to believe that anything was possible. That was what 2011 did. What Rohit Sharma is attempting to do is try to set right what the turbulence he has built up to. There was a time when we didn't know who the captain really should be. Of course, Virat Kohli led for a while, and then there were quite a few unsureties regarding his future as captain. He was, of course, the star batter. Rohit Sharma was not fully fit. He missed out some moments. There was a phase where we really weren't sure who would be the captain to lead India here to this World Cup. And Rohit has sort of come in there, shown that confidence, even at the press conference when he says, his mantra, his ideology is to have faith, back the players, don't make changes, keep it simple. And he's redefining how an Indian team can look. This looks to be one of the strongest Indian outfits here. And up against Australia, who is known to be one of the strongest outfits in ODI cricket. How else and how bigger a battle this can be? Because even for Australia, they're having a very different sort of a captain this time. We're talking about 2003 World Cup final against India when Ricky Ponting led that side. Again, Ricky Ponting is very tenacious. He's in your face. He's a fighter. He knows how to sledge. He knows how to get under the opponent's skin. And now you talk about someone like a Pat Cummins, and the way his teammates explain or talk about him, he's more calm. He's more in control. He lets things be and tries to take charge and lets everyone express themselves and perform to their potential. So really, two very, very different captains coming in at this point. So that's going to be very, very exciting. Yes, this is the Summit Clash. This is what we've built up to. India versus Australia. Now, India versus Australia. It's a rivalry that catches my fancy a bit because it doesn't really rely on any sort of a history that is geopolitical or of a kind that doesn't really translate from what's happened on the field. It's a rivalry that's truly intensified and grown into something bigger than and larger than life, owing to just the contest and the different characters that we've seen over the different decades. It obviously started because of both these sides boasting of just legends in the sport, like a Sachin Tendulkar, Virender Sehwag, someone like Saurav Ganguly, going up and standing tall against the likes of Glenn McGrath, Shane Warne. That's how all these contests built, and as it passed on over the next generations, it only just intensified, and the different characters and stories made it so much more poignant. Now, I really can't forget 2008, that whole episode of the Anil Kumble-led India taking on Ricky Ponting's fiery Australia. That episode and that entire series just stands its test of time, and it's something that we will always look back to and always remember and retell as the years go by. Of course, now it's taken over because we have Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, all standing symbolic to the rivalry now against the likes of David Warner, Steve Smith, Pat Cummins. And that ferocity is what really defines this particular rivalry. So if we then talk about contests alone, we have to speak about what is it that really defines India versus Australia. Now, I spoke to the Team India former coaching staff, Sridhar, who spoke about how you have to play on the ego of the Aussies. You have to get under their skin to truly experience and truly defeat that Aussie spirit. Listen in.
Talking about Australians as an opponent, it is how we treat them. I know it is very easy, to get a little affected by their aggression. But if we are the aggressors against a team like Australia, and then we always have an upper hand against them, and that is exactly what Virat and Ravi showed throughout their tours in Australia. You become the aggressors and take the game to them rather than being allowing them to kind of dictate the terms and conditions. And that with that approach, we did find success. Having said that, extremely competitive white ball team. They have won the World Cup a staggering 5 times across different continents. So obviously they know how to play a World Cup. And they also have a very good white ball record in India of late. I think they're the only team which has managed to win a ODI series in India. I remember just before last World Cup in 2019, we were 2-0 up against Australia in a series, but they came back and beat us 3-2. And I think the fourth game was in Mohali and the fifth game was in Delhi, and we lost that series. Obviously, we had rested some players in that series as well. Like Dhoni played his last match in Ranchi, and then we moved on and we tried out different combinations, and we didn't win that series before the 2019 World Cup. And even the last series when Australia traveled here in India, they played a magnificent game in Chennai, and Zampa bowled really well, and they defended a very low score against us, and they went on to clinch that series as well. So they probably are the only team to have beaten India twice in the last 8 or 10 years in India in a ODI series. So with that in mind, we have to give them a lot of respect. But their captain, Pat Cummins, obviously has not played a lot of ODI cricket for Australia of late, and he's hardly captained Australia in ODIs. Probably the most inexperienced ODI captain going into this World Cup, having captained them only for 4 or 5 games. So that is something which we will have to wait and watch as to how the team is responding to Pat Cummins' style of captaincy, although he's done exceptionally well in the Ashes. So that is something which Australia will worry about. A lot of players coming back from injury. Big Show, Maxwell, Steve Smith, Mitch Stark obviously had a good series last time around, but coming back from an injury. So very, very interesting to watch. And I remember once, just before the 2015 World Cup semi-final, I remember Dhoni once telling the team in one of those talks that when you play against the Aussies, you have to play against their ego. You have to make them play on their ego. That is something which we spoke about. And I think the players are very sharp. Someone like a Kohli is very sharp to catch the weaknesses of the Australians, and he has their pulse. He knows when to go after them. And we have, as a team, did realize that you have to get under the skin and go after them, play a very aggressive brand of cricket against them.
That's really the root of it, isn't it? It's just amazing how you hear someone like MS Dhoni, a skipper like him, a figure like him, in the dressing room, putting down the strategy of how to take on a team like Australia. He knew exactly where to hit them hard. Because it's not just about playing to a plan or playing to a game plan or your strength. It's also about playing the person. And he was aware of that. Because you cannot take a team like Australia all too lightly. This is a new India. This is an India that is dominant, that is fierce, that has an attitude and an aggression to it. But it's up against a country, a team that knows how to win World Cup titles and has done it consistently so. The team that has won 5. So they know what it takes to be at a World Cup final. So let's look at the head-to-heads as far as ODI World Cups are concerned. Now, the two have played each other 13 times. They obviously know each other really well. And Australia has the advantage there. They've won 8 out of those 13 encounters. So yes, there is something there, but you can't look at the past so much because this is a different contest. It has a different context. You have an Indian side that is undefeated coming into this tournament, and then you have an Aussie side that has found its rhythm finally. That started off slowly with losses but has built momentum thanks to some of their seniors really stepping in and shepherding that last crucial phase. So how will this stack up? What are the interesting battles to look forward to? I can immediately just picture some of them. How will Glenn Maxwell tackle the wily customers like Ravindra Jadeja or Kuldeep Yadav? How will, on an opposite side, Adam Zampa, who's really sort of inching towards that record held by Muttiah Muralitharan as the spinner with the most wickets in a single World Cup edition, tackle someone who's so famed in that batting lineup in India, like a Virat, Kohli, or Rohit Sharma, even the middle order that's standing tall, like a Shreyas Iyer, who's finding his form and his confidence thanks to all the faith that his skipper has kept on him after his comeback. These are some battles that I'm looking forward to. And of course, when it comes to pace versus the bat, a Mohammed Shami, how mouth-watering that'll be up against the likes of David Warner, Steve Smith even, or Travis Head, who's coming in with some numbers after his injury. And on the opposite camp, a Mitchell Starc, a Hazelwood, who've just hit their rhythm and just ducked deep towards the end of this tournament, How will they fare up against a very confident top order of the Indian lineup? This is what we are looking forward to. It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.